Okay. All right. Well, welcome. Welcome to this Twisted Wrister Hockey stream. Welcome back. If you've been waiting for this for quite some time, because I haven't streamed in about 7 months, and for those of you who are new, you are welcome as well. I'm Nick, and today we're going to be talking about the second half of the NHL season. We'll be kind of previewing that. We'll be talking about some jersey speculation and news that we've been hearing about, because I know a lot of you like that. We'll be talking about the All-Star weekend that just happened as well, and some other stuff here too. So the first sort of 15 minutes, as you can see on screen, we have a bit of a schedule, and so this is a time for people to come in, join the chat, say hello, and then we'll kick things off around 11:15 or so, discussing the All-Star weekend. From about 11:30 till 12:15, that's the bulk of this stream, and that is going to be on the second half of this upcoming season. Then we'll talk a little bit about jerseys for a little bit, and then after that, I'll be discussing some things that you can expect on this channel, and also answering some questions that you guys might have for me too. Anyway, let me just make sure that I've got... Okay, we've got some viewers here. So, welcome, first of all, and say hello. Kyle Scott, hola, bienvenido. I see that you have a Clippers profile here, so I would just guess, if anything, that you would be maybe an LA Kings fan or a Ducks fan, but you let me know if I'm wrong there. Kraken, have your favorite logo. Okay, it's a good logo. I ranked it, I think, about a year ago on the channel. I think I ranked it like 9th. It's a good one. You know, it's not overly complicated. You can apply it in a lot of different formats. It's got a good color scheme, of course. All right. Now, Seattle, they've been playing better the last 10 or 12 games. So I don't know if they're going to, continue down that route for the rest of the year. But I would say that they will certainly be one of the more attractive teams when it comes to like selling off assets at the trade deadline. Welcome, Matt, and welcome, Barrett. Thank you for joining the stream here. Hope you guys don't mind me shaking off the rust. It's been 7 months almost since the last time I went live. Riley, welcome to the stream. So we've got plenty to discuss today as it pertains to NHL hockey. Hey, Beast Ninja. Thank you for joining. Timo time. What's going on, bud? Thank you for joining. And T-Park. Hey, man. From the other side of the country, man. So, good news. That's good. I think everybody could use some good news. Dan the man. Welcome. It has been some time, has it not? So yeah, as you guys can see here, we actually have a loose sort of schedule here. Them Bengals? Who dey? Yeah, it's great that they have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, obviously, but even if they got the doors blown off of them, I think this year is just an astronomical success for them. It's great to see a team that has been downtrodden for quite some time get a chance to actually win a championship. And so I would only hope that that would be the case for one of the teams in the NHL this year too, like the Florida Panthers, let's say. Hooday. Yeah, I have a feeling, and I know hockey stream, right? But the first 15 minutes here, this can be pretty loose. But yeah, I assume that most people will be cheering for the Bengals in this game. I don't hate the Rams by any means, and it's great to see Stafford get a chance, to play on the biggest stage as well. Cloudbot kicking in. Joe Burrow is super good. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's kind of like his rookie year in a sense, right? Yeah. I didn't really watch much football though. I don't even know if I really care about the Super Bowl all that much. If there's not like a real NHL game to watch at the time. Stafford? Oh, because you're a Lions fan. That's right. Yeah. I mean, for him to like actually have a chance to compete, like legit, that's probably pretty meaningful. As I'm sure that you know that for sure though. Wrestling training. good. It's good to see people, getting out and being active and healthy in these times for sure. Hey, Kurt Warner. By the way, did anybody see that Kurt Warner movie? And if so, was that any good? I imagine that would have been pretty interesting to see, like, interpreted on the big screen there. If anybody's new here, of course, welcome. Make sure that if you're having a good time, hit that red subscribe button. And for all of our returning twisters here, if you smash that like, that way we can attract others like you to this channel as well. So, Shazam. 12 viewers, all right. That's great for my first time streaming in almost 7 months. I'm happy to see that. So thank you. By the way, guys, how are you liking the backdrop these days? I know that normally I don't have the lights off like this for my regular videos, but I had a good time sort of experimenting with this new layout where you have the two walls. I don't know, but I'm curious to know your thoughts. I'm thinking about putting in some like accent lighting though. Yeah, it's really been 7 months, man. Yeah. The $6 million for Meyer looks good right now. Yeah, but remember that if they want to extend him after next season, they have to qualify him at $10 million. So he would have to keep it up at this pace to stay a Shark. I don't know if there's any way that they can renegotiate their terms, but yeah. Backdrop looks nice. All right, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'll still like add a little bit to it and tweak things around over time. But yeah, this is the basic idea for sure. You don't know how the Rams aren't over the salary cap? Yeah, I don't really know so much about how the cap works with football, but I mean, there are definitely times when you see a team like that where they just have a bunch of superstars, and you think, how much are the offensive linemen making? Are they making like $5 an hour or something? They're like the Lightning of the NFL. Yeah, kind of like that. It'd be interesting to see, not just the Lightning, but like especially a team like Vegas, right? In the second half of the year, how do they clear up the cap space in order to, be able to actually have Jack Eichel playing for them? So, and we can discuss that further today too. 10 mil is very, very steep, which is funny because that he still wouldn't be the highest paid player on the team. One thing I haven't looked at so much this yet, and I'll probably take a gander as we get maybe closer to the playoffs, is that we got to look at all the UFAs coming up for this next year. Guys like Claude Giroux and others who are on the trading block, like him and Tomas Hertl, and like John Klingberg is another example of somebody who will be a UFA next year. Zimmer's gone. Yep. Well, I mean, it's supposedly Kevin O'Connell, the Rams offensive coordinator. So that could be a step in the right direction when you have Justin Jefferson. I won't bombard people with too much Vikings talk on here, though. Speaking of another franchise, it's long overdue for a title run. Claude Giroux going to the Avs. I know a lot of people are kind of sold on that idea. I mean, it could work out really well. If you guys check the video description, you can see some links to my recent videos. I did one on trade deadline targets for every team. So I'm really assessing the most important need for each team at the trade deadline, not necessarily the sexiest move they could make. So for me, with the Avalanche, they have a terrible PK this year, so far at least. So I think that's the biggest need that they should be addressing, somebody who can take away the time that a top six forward would, giving the opportunity for the top six to be more offensively minded. That's what I'm trying to say there. Hey, I am live. Yep. I am back, man. Well, at least for today. Oh, thanks, T-Park. Yeah, that's a huge bummer that Carlson's his forearm, right? I never really hear somebody missing significant time because of a forearm, but yeah, man, he's kind of made of glass these days. So yeah, we can talk trades certainly, but yeah, Giroux, I can't see why he's not going to be pursued by at least like 6 or 7 different teams out there. It's interesting, the idea of Giroux there and the season that Kadri's had as well. It's almost like they wouldn't even if one of their big horses, like I'm talking Landeskog, Rantanen, and of course McKinnon, if one or two of those guys went down, if they got a guy like Giroux to play for them, then they could even rest their top talent by the rest or through the end of the regular season into the playoffs, because they've got a decent cushion in that division. It's not as big as people think because the Wild, you look at points percentage, they're right up there with some of the top teams in the NHL. Yeah, it has been indeed a long time. I was saying that it's been about 7 months almost, and the last stream I did, was a Let's Make a Jersey one. So much has happened since then, man. That's for sure. But yeah, Paul, greetings, joining us from across the pond in the UK. Will I be streaming more often? I honestly don't know. Of course I want to, like in an ideal case. So I mean, the pipe dream would be to kind of like do another weekly stream. Like you remember when the league shut down, basically 2 years ago. I liked doing that weekly stream with you guys a whole lot. That was kind of the nice sweet spot, I would have to say. Doing like playoff stuff, I don't know. I honestly don't know. My channel's going to still focus primarily on actually just making the videos, but that's not to say that we couldn't revisit this. So the answer is up in the air, but I know that that's something that a lot of people want to see come back for sure. So yeah. Oh, thank you. Go Blues from a Heat fan. Dude, do not sleep on the St. Louis Blues. The thing that sucks for it's, and we've seen this before too. We're going to see that in the Atlantic Division and even in the Metro Division. And in addition to the Blues, right? The Blues are probably going to have to face the Wild in the first round. As we've seen before, they can match up really well against Minnesota, but one of those really good teams is going to get knocked out. Between the Penguins and the Rangers, most likely, one of those teams is already going to be out after the first round. And the most interesting one is the idea of, the Maple Leafs still have a shot at that division, but imagine, the Leafs versus Tampa in the first round, for example. You got a Coyotes jersey for Christmas. Awesome. Kachina, I would think. Yeah, the white ones look really good too. Everyone should sleep on the Blues. But what are your Stars gonna do, T-Park, man? I can't figure those guys out, man. They're kind of a one-line team. I know that they're scoring more than they have in the past, but do they get in as a second wild card? That's still certainly possible, but the Pacific's not going to give it up all that easily, I don't think. If the Panthers go all the way, would Jumbo hang it up? Oh, yeah, of course. I don't think anybody's going to take him after this year, to be honest with you. Robert Thomas is elite. Yeah, if you want to talk about the most underrated players in the NHL, he could easily be top 10. That's why I like the Blues, is that they're so balanced in their forward group in terms of productivity. But I would like to see the Blues. They could maybe go for somebody else with a little bit more offensive upside. Klingberg, it would be interesting to see them possibly target him. I actually really like the idea of Giordano going to the Blues. But yeah, Pacific has it locked. You mean they're going to send 4 teams or 3? I think you're saying they're going to send 4 teams. You're hoping that Seattle was going to be kind of a year 1 contender. Yeah, God, my season predictions were just hot garbage, man. Think about it. First of all, Cortana picked the Kraken to go to the Stanley Cup final, but she does have the Rangers winning it all, and this was entirely randomized, if you guys remember. So Cortana's still in the mix in that sense, whereas me, on the other hand, no, my Stanley Cup prediction at the beginning of this year was Islanders over Jets. Yep. So, hey, remember, guys, before the start of 2018-19, I said Blues. Nobody else was saying Blues. they were at the bottom of the standings, and sure enough, I ended up being right. This year, though, Brostradamus over here doesn't have a clue what the hell he's doing, but yeah. Oh, what's up, Eddie? Thanks for joining. An unloaded panda. That makes me an unloaded panda. In a couple minutes, we'll get into our first real topic du jour. We'll be recapping the All-Star Weekend, so hang tight here. And return of the map, what's going on at the standings? Well, the Wild, Pacific, yeah, they would be winning the Pacific. Yeah, they would be. I do say though, I always look at points percentage. Some people don't, and there are good justifications for it. But a team like Calgary, who has like 4 or 6 games in hand on teams in their own division, if they're like within 2 points of them, technically, no. Calgary's higher up. Like I see it. I see it that way. The Sabres are elite. I mean, at least they have Alex Tuck playing for them now. I'm elite. Thank you. Well, whether or not you think I'm elite, I'm happy to have you here watching the stream. You're watching the Ducks more this year, yeah? Yeah, they kind of remind me of the Blackhawks, right? All the youth coming in and making that impact fairly quickly. When they started out pretty well, I was like, you know what, though? They've done that in the past couple of years. They've had a couple of seasons where they started out well, and then they just completely free fall. But now I'm starting to believe that they're going to be a tough team to get past because you just don't know exactly what to expect from that youth group. And by the way, guys, Lundestrom, one of the more underrated players in the Pacific Division, I would say. Nobody's talking about him. He was like, him and Comtois were the only good things for the Ducks last year, really. Oh, well, thank you, Spencer. I appreciate that about you. And y'all can head over to Spencer's channel here. He's actually putting together vlogs from different sport venues, which is pretty cool. I think he's done like a couple of ballparks. Spencer, feel free to elaborate in the chat here. Calgary's a menace. Yeah, I mean, when Jacob Markstrom has 7 shutouts, it doesn't matter if you're not getting as much productivity in the second line. You can still ride that, I think, in the Pacific Division into the postseason. And it's nice to see. It's really nice to see Markstrom rebounding after last year too. Ottawa may make a splash in the second half. They're starting to click. Yeah, you're right. They're playing better. And speaking of which, and I'll talk about this later on, I'm doing a power rankings on Tuesday, and Ottawa turned out to be a few spots higher than I expected to be honest with you. How is Cortana doing? She's doing great. She's actually outside the room right now. I'll try to get her to come in later on probably. But yeah, my dog, Cortana's my dog. She just turned 8 years old, and we're still going on hikes. She's still playing all kinds of fetch. She's just bounding about, harassing me to, play keep away, or she wants to play keep away from me. Yeah, I want to hopefully get some other like NHL apparel for her, so then that way I can feature her in my videos. Kind of a nice tie-in. Do the Hawks have any shutouts this year? I don't know. I know that Fleury's been playing fairly well actually after a pretty shaky start. You were always a Markstrom hater. You're eating crow. Yeah, the numbers for him I don't think have always done him justice. I've always thought that he's played better than what the statistics indicate. I don't really honestly admit that about too many players, but yeah. Cincinnati Reds, they actually, I wonder if they're going to continue some of that momentum that they were building last year. Anyway, we are at 11:15, and again, this is a fairly loose structure here, but I think this is a good time to get into our first segment here, talking about the All-Star Weekend. So, of course, guys, sound off in the chat. What jumped out at you at the All-Star Weekend? I didn't watch all of it, to be honest with you, and that's kind of a reason why I like actually bringing that up here because, and to answer that quickly, Chris, I grew up around San Jose, so big Giants fan. Markstrom's autograph. Okay, so yeah, this last All-Star weekend here, it kind of was just another All-Star weekend from what I've seen before, to be honest with you. When it came to the games yesterday, I was working on a video at the same time, so I had, the volume on, but there weren't like any big moments from the games at all, at least from what I saw yesterday. And so it got me thinking. I understand that it's difficult with hockey because it's a contact sport, right? But what if there was a way to actually make those games important? So with baseball, of course, they play on a Tuesday. So they actually I think they get their better ratings by playing on a Tuesday, strangely enough. And maybe the All-Star game for the NHL might want to think about something like that in the future. I think The Athletic was actually talking about that. They made some good points about ratings for that. So first of all, I would give them credit there and entertain that idea potentially. But yeah, what if with the All-Star game, there was something at stake so that maybe they actually stacked the division teams more than they do typically. And they actually, made it so that it was conference versus conference and the winner got home ice advantage for the Stanley Cup. Right? Actually make this significant so that there are crucial and critical moments to the games. Because from what I saw yesterday, I didn't see anything that was, were there any trick shots during the games yesterday? I don't even know, man. I wasn't interested in watching the highlights or anything like that. 3-on-3 for NHL like during the regular season is awesome for overtime, but in the context of the All-Star game, I don't know. It's just not doing it for me. It doesn't have that same intensity when there's a 2-on-1 or a breakaway. Excuse me. So that's my first feeling with the All-Star game. It's getting stale in the sense that, yeah, you can reiterate, you can iterate and ideate on all the different skills competitions, and a lot of us would say that that's where the fun is for us as like pretty regular hockey fans. Whereas the games themselves are almost like a formality at this point. Wouldn't you guys have to say that? So yeah, what did you guys think of the All-Star weekend? The NHL needs a celebrity All-Star game? Maybe so. Maybe so. And I think that one thing that also jumps out at me is that they need better emceeing. I thought about this, right? I know it's supposed to be a family-friendly event, but you look at Paul Bissonnette on TNT. He's able to keep it pretty PG on there. So I thought to myself, man, how are the Spit and Chicklets guys not emceeing this event? How are they not? I know they do the Chicklets Cup, which is very successful for them as well. But they need to get some punch, I think, and really shake things up from an entertainment perspective and for a significance perspective, I should say. I mean, I look at the Super Bowl this year, right? Who is the halftime entertainment? The NFL was very smart going with a lineup that really hits the demographic, right? The upper end of that 18 to 48 range or whatever it is, 44. Think about it this way. As a kid, I'm 34 years old. I grew up watching the Super Bowl, starting in the mid-1990s and into the aughts, right? And what music was popular back then, right? There were some classic hip-hop artists. And now I'm at the age where like a lot of people at my age would be having kids, and those kids might be watching the Super Bowl as well. Granted, you're not going to have like a children's musician or whatever, be the halftime entertainer. But as somebody who I would be, possibly hosting a Super Bowl party with my friends, maybe there were some kids running around or whatever. Now it's like we're locked on at halftime because we want to see Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar. That he came kind of afterwards, I guess. So they were smart because they went with that versus like an artist who's currently hot right now. At least that's kind of that's how I interpret their approach, and I think it's gonna work. It's not like washed up artists, because Snoop is still making music, Eminem's still making music. So it's like the NHL would need to get entertainment like that, Yep. So that's just kind of how I would sort of pick apart the All-Star entertainment. I look at the deck of cards, right? The 21 and 22 segment, right? That challenge. Great idea, but there weren't like any spectators around that at all. There wasn't any noise. There wasn't any sort of... it was just the players kind of like talking to themselves, or talking among each other and taking a few shots. And the way that they break the cards, but there wasn't anything lighting up or anything like that. So yeah, I know that was probably more of an afterthought, but I think that there's an opportunity to do a lot more with the All-Star Weekend, both in terms of entertainment and actually making the games mean something. What if they actually, here's another idea, right? What if they actually removed the actual All-Star game or All-Star games? Oh, the band, yeah, Machine Gun Kelly, you weren't a fan. I don't know. I thought a couple of their songs were fine. I mean, like in a smaller venue, I think they would sound pretty good. But again, it's like, yeah, maybe that's what the Gen Zers are listening to, but your core demographic is going to be people who are, I think, a little bit more seasoned, like myself. Anyway, so yeah, what if you took the games away and you made the All-Star Weekend purely skill-based? And the reason why I bring this idea up is because that way you could actually make everything at stake for home ice advantage, both in the Stanley Cup final and also in the conference final. So the initial skills challenges could pit the best of the Central Division against the best of the Pacific Division, and likewise between the Metro and the Atlantic. So those groups would face off against each other to determine home ice advantage for the conference final. More breakaways, more breakaway challenge. Do that. More target shooting. Really augment, some of the more successful, some of the more successful competitions. Have that determine home ice for the conference final, and then you have the conference final champions face off against each other for Stanley Cup final home ice. Of course, that doesn't necessarily make sense though. But I think you get the idea, right? Actually make something significant out of this. Welcome. Next 30 plus years, you're going to have old people listening to gangster rap music. Yeah. Hey, if they're still tuning in, though, you got to play to the crowd. You got to play to the ratings. What about the NHL moving games out of Canada with the restrictions in place? I don't know. Aren't they opening up like arenas or venues to like 50% capacity? So hopefully that's the direction that things trend in. Crazy just with how much, they've had to, just how much this season has kind of had to unfurl on the fly, I guess. Any more thoughts about the All-Star Weekend? Trevor Zegras, anybody want to talk about that crazy move that he made, right? Blindfolded, right? I love that he came out in the Peter LaFleur outfit from Dodgeball. I got to give him snaps there. It's funny, though, because Zegras, when that movie came out, I think he was like 4 years old. I don't think mom and dad were bringing him to that. So I don't know exactly how old he was when he actually went to see it, but he definitely gets my approval. He gets my Chuck Norris because, again, he's reaching the core demographic there. Ridiculous spin move. It's almost like the puck was taped to his stick. So that was cool. Pretty funny how John Hamm gave him a 7 and then gave Pietrangelo a 19 for like not doing anything. But obviously, that stuff, the champions and that sort of stuff doesn't really matter. The target shooting was, I like seeing the target shooting. again, I would like to see more. I'd like to see that happening at both ends of the ice simultaneously. Sebastian Aho winning that for the Carolina Hurricanes. Pardon me. Certainly liked seeing him win that. I'd like the idea of him being in the spotlight a little bit more. But then again, that's why the Carolina Hurricanes are so good, right? One player is not hogging the spotlight over there. And if anybody's hogging the spotlight this year, it's Freddie Anderson. I'll talk about him a little bit later. I'm trying to think of what else I can touch on from the All-Star Weekend, because other than that, I don't know. I didn't see all that much more. I didn't actually watch the hardest shot. I missed that. But that was won by Victor Hedman. His shot came in at what? What was that? 1-0. I don't know. But it didn't surprise me to see him win that. Hedman is, he's got quite a complete skill set out there for sure. Did I get skates yet? No, I haven't. Nope. So yeah, that was pretty much about it as it pertained to the All-Star Weekend. Okay, so Hedman clocked in at 103. Okay, so still not quite in Zdeno Chara territory, or for that matter, I'm sure that Shea Weber probably, Shea Weber's probably registered something higher than that as well. Anyway, thank you guys so much for sticking around for this. We already got nine likes here. I appreciate that. And obviously for anybody new, even though I think everybody here is subscribed, hey, join the Twist Brigade. Maybe we can do this a little bit more, maybe on a weekly basis or something like that. So yeah, I guess that with that said, a couple minutes in advance, I will actually take a look at the NHL in the second half. So this will be a lot based on the standings. We can talk about some trades. We can talk about teams that are, obviously riding hot streaks and that sort of thing. We will also be examining this from the standpoint of power rankings, so stick around for Tuesday's video. I have a very unique power rankings formula that I've introduced for this upcoming video. I think you guys will get a kick out of it for sure. So looking forward to sharing that with you guys, of course. Well, hello, welcome. Thank you. I'm doing well. I'm excited to be back on here after a long hiatus and talking hockey. So let's look at the standings here. Does anybody have a preference with which division we start out with? You guys can let me know in the chat. So yeah, we are, of course, Canuck Clay crew member. Right on. Love Clay. He recently had Shannon on his channel. That's awesome. Love interacting with Clay. I've collaborated with him a couple of times too. Awesome dude. So yeah, you guys let me know. Start with the Pacific. All right, that's perfect. All right. We'll do Pacific, then Metro. How about that? And then maybe go Central Atlantic or Atlantic Central. So right now, of course, we are roughly at the halfway point, although especially with this season, you guys know that, of course, some teams have played a lot more games than other teams. So that's why I love looking at the standings from a points percentage perspective. Not the only lens that I like to look at it through, but that's kind of what I'll speak to widely. So let's look at the Pacific Division. Right now, the Vegas Golden Knights occupy first place, and in my opinion, things are only going to go up for the Golden Knights. They've done, I think, almost a better job than I would have expected given all of the injuries and absences that they faced. So you really do have to treat the Golden Knights, I think, like the team that they've been the past couple of seasons. That's the way that you have to approach them. Pardon me, from talking, I always get a lot of air building up in my chest here. So maybe I need to take a pause a little bit more frequently. So yeah, the Golden Knights in first place. Stone's back in the lineup. Pacioretty's back in the lineup. Alec Martinez, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that they're still waiting for him to come back. He's obviously a huge piece as it pertains to limiting the number of chances that defenses get out there. So yeah, I think that Vegas is still going to be a very good team the rest of the way. Hey, Thomas, welcome. Hey, great video. I really liked your Vezina video today. From fifth to first, yeah, the injury bug was big. And what's really interesting with the Golden Knights, if you guys look at the trade boards out there, one of the big trade targets for the Golden Knights apparently is Riley Smith, like dealing him to somebody else. Now, Riley Smith is a unrestricted free agent coming up this next season. So what the Knights want to do is they want to unload some cap space, so then that way they can actually accommodate Jack Eichel. However, in my opinion, Riley Smith is almost as integral to the Golden Knights as Marc-Andre Fleury was for those 4 years. He's their leading point producer in franchise history. I think he's 30 years old, and he's still producing at a fairly good clip. And so I think that they would be shooting themselves in the foot by dealing him. I think they'd be better off. If they trade somebody, if they can find a way to get Dodonov's contract off, I don't think that anybody's going to take his full like $5 million or $5.3 million. Maybe they take on some of his salary to deal him elsewhere. But I would think Dodonov is one person on the block. I would not trade Riley Smith. Maybe I would say William Karlsson, but they're already kind of thin at center. If you take Eichel out of the equation there. And if I'm the Golden Knights, I as a group, Jack Eichel is hopefully going to augment the talents of the team, but you can't just expect the team to play around Eichel when he gets there. So that's why I think that Riley Smith is as integral to them. I think that if you deal anybody, you have to look at Dodonov would be one. I think the Golden Knights, I would rather, if I'm trying to make a cup run, I would rather deal even, I know that they're thin at center, but I'd rather deal even William Karlsson instead of Riley Smith, to be honest with you. Don't trade Marchessault. Yeah, I would say that kind of like just a little bit past Riley Smith, I think that Marchessault is another guy that you try not to, tamper with that situation either. Yes, I can do that. So that's where I think they sit right now. I don't know if anybody else can challenge them, to be honest, because the Knights have a good balance between good defense and good offense. This year they're producing fairly well offensively, and in net, I do think that they need to target a backup goaltender. Laurent Brossoit has not been comparable. You add Alec Martinez back to the defense, and perhaps maybe Brossoit's numbers will go up. So anyway, I don't want to talk just ad nauseum about Vegas, but even as a Sharks fan, I have a lot that I can say about them, and respectfully too. Let's talk about the Calgary Flames, because in terms of point percentage, they are sitting second in that division. Calgary has surprised me this year. I was a big Flames doubter going into this season. I said that maybe they could be in the playoff conversation if Markstrom picked it up and looked like Jacob Markstrom from 2 years ago. And this season, he's in the Vezina conversation for sure. As Thomas's video points out, he has 7 shutouts already, which is redonkulous. It's not like he's playing every game as well. The Flames have also gotten needed productivity in a contract year from Johnny Gaudreau. So Gaudreau, I think, should keep that rate continuous through the second half and be the catalyst offensively. In my opinion, for anything with Calgary, they need to augment the productivity from the second line. So they need some help for Andrew Mangiapane, in my opinion. So that's why in my trade targets video, I mentioned them going after a guy like Giroux, maybe Max Domi, a guy like Hurdle or JT Miller, since they're in the division. I don't necessarily see that happening. If Calgary can be a little bit more consistent with how they perform at home, and I know that they weren't playing that many home games to start the season, then who knows? Maybe they could challenge Vegas. So Daryl Sutter, I don't know if he's going to be in the Jack Adams conversation, but I certainly admire the job that he's done in his first full year with this team. They need a defensive-minded forward. Mikhail Backlund, my sense is putting Backlund further down the lineup will give him a chance to do more defensively for them. Yeah. I'll touch on the Canucks in just a little bit too. Let's talk LA Kings. So I know I've already been talking, 20 minutes, Pacific Division, so I should probably pick this up here. LA, in my season preview video, I mentioned that LA could maybe challenge for a wild card. I could have seen them finishing as high as 4th in that division. Right now they're 3rd. If you look at points percentage, I think them and Edmonton are jockeying for that spot. So LA, they're there because, again, like those old horses, as I call them, guys like Kopitar, Jonathan Quick rebounding, Drew Doughty rebounding. That was really the first. That was the first sort of domino that needed to fall for them to, be in that conversation as a playoff team. One. Hey, CJ, Jean, bienvenue. So with the Kings, that was the first domino, getting the old horses, getting the band back together, and getting some results out of them. Dustin Brown kind of aside, but yeah, he's certainly the old guard there. The second domino is falling. Dano, Arvidsson, those are two big guys who stand out to me for this team. They're producing. And the defensive system that Todd McClellan has implemented there is working as well. So that's why LA finds themselves in the position that they are now. Buyers at the trade deadline? I think so. If you look at the next 3 teams in that division between LA, Edmonton, and also the Ducks, the Kings, to me, I think that they are the hardest to play against. Historically, they can be hard to play against if they're kind of a lower seed too. So I look for them to try to make a big move or two. So that's LA. Edmonton, consistency is the name of the game the previous 2 years, right? Edmonton was the best Canadian team the last 2 years in terms of, hey, thanks for the super chat, CJ. Merci. I appreciate that. Don't worry, we'll talk Pittsburgh too. So Edmonton was such a consistent team the previous 2 years. But this year, it's been anything but that. Now, they, of course, added Evander Kane to the roster. And, you saw that 4 years ago in San Jose. He made an instant impact for the better. So I'm not doubting that can't continue. I think that he can be a great offensive complement to McDavid and Draisaitl. Especially when somebody like Zach Hyman hasn't, been himself. He hasn't been the Zach Hyman that we've seen in Toronto. So that was a smart move. From a Cap perspective, that was a very smart move. I know that Kane, of course, can be a locker room cancer. Let's be frank. But again, he's not necessarily like that when he first arrives. I've seen it before. So the other, sort of factor here is the goaltending. And Koskinen has been playing a lot better over the past several games. The Oilers are kind of, they kind of have to outscore their troubles, I think. But if Koskinen can lock down that sort of performance over the course of the season, then yeah, they would be comfortably in a playoff spot. But yeah, consistency, we'll have to see if that's what we get from this team. Okay, and one other team that is in that playoff conversation are the Anaheim Ducks. I kind of talked about them at the beginning of the stream for a little bit. Yeah, they're fun to watch, man. And it's not necessarily the Trevor Zegras show. I know that his primary points percentage, as I mentioned in my Calder comparison video, definitely check that out if you haven't already. He's driving a lot of that productivity for the top 6, even if he's not averaging quite a point a game. So you have to tip the cap there. Guys like Lundestrom perform well in their respective roles. Jamie Drysdale is adding some productivity from the back end. Actually, the whole defense for Anaheim is... Akins deserves a lot of credit for that because the defense is contributing a lot offensively, a lot more than you might think. The goaltending's been good, not just in terms of Gibson, but also Anthony Stolarz. So Anaheim is actually more well-rounded as a team than I would think. And, they're doing this with a lot of young guys as well. So, they might not necessarily stay in the playoff race. Oh, Jean, thank you so much. Yeah, of course, I'm back on here to earn super chats, but it's a benefit for everybody here. I thank you. That's a very kind gesture from CJ and yourself. And wait. Oh, wait. No, I was like, it's the Thrashers jersey. I forgot to hang up a jersey behind me. Excuse me, guys. How about this one? Yeah? Good old Thrashers. All right. So, anyway, we'll punt on the Ducks. The next team I'll talk about, now that we're kind of out of the playoff teams, I'll make this quicker. God, I could talk about the Pacific for 2 hours straight. And thanks for everybody for sticking around, of course. So Vancouver, they're not totally out of it yet. You know, they're basically NHL 500. I think that since December 7th, they lead the league in goals against. So Demko's having a great year, and Thomas's video talks about him a little bit too. Again, I think with Demko, he's performing better than the numbers indicate. Vancouver's an interesting team because they could really put themselves at an advantageous position, I should say, going into the offseason by moving one or two of their players. You know, Garland has been in the conversation a lot too, not just JT Miller. So Vancouver, I don't know. They would have to string together some more wins in order to maybe keep some of the pieces that they have in place. But it's nice to see Boudreau kind of winning the locker room back together as well. I've seen him on like NHL Network as an analyst. He would be somebody I would let me just be straight honest. If I had to like have some beers with like current NHL personalities, I think Boudreau would actually be a fun one. His nickname is Gabby because he can be pretty chatty, and I just like his demeanor. I don't know. He'd be fun to chat it up with over some fermented beverages. And then, of course, my favorite team, the San Jose Sharks, got to... thanks, Simon. I appreciate that. The Sharks, I think that they're putting together a season that I didn't expect. I thought it was going to be, significantly worse. Maybe not significantly, but I thought their points percentage would be like .470 right now. They're a little bit above 500. Kind of like the Canucks. I think that they could really make their situation better for next year if they trade Tomas Hertl. I love Hertl, but let's give him an opportunity with another team. Let's free up some cap space and give another rookie a chance to kind of flourish in that spot. If not this year, then next year. So I do think the Sharks would be benefiting as a seller in the trade deadline. But they recently went through the really difficult road trip of Washington, Florida. Then they had to go back up to Carolina. They had a back-to-back. That makes no sense. And then they had to play right after that in Tampa a couple of days later. And they played really well. They got 4 points in 4 games there. So, but a lot of that was James Reimer just standing on his head. So I know that he's not going to get many Vezina votes, but Reimer has played, I think, pretty outstanding for what was expected of him. Anyway, so after that, you have, of course, the Kraken, who've been a big disappointment this season, unfortunately. Yeah, a lot of the players that they have on their team are unrestricted free agents next year or restricted free agents, guys like, Donato and Appleton. So I do think that a couple of those players could be possibly moved at the deadline. But yeah, Seattle's going to have a lot of cap space. They can stockpile more draft picks. And, around here, because I live in Idaho, North Idaho, and near Spokane, people are still happy with the Kraken. They're just happy that there's hockey going on at the professional level. So, their goal wasn't to win a Stanley Cup in year one. And in year two, it might not be that case either, but they're going to have a lot of, capital and possibly assets in their favor so that they can build for a cup team, in a couple years from now. And then, was that the basement there? Who am I missing? Did I get everybody? Yeah, I got everybody. All right. Unrealistic expectation for Seattle. Well, it's funny because I thought that Seattle on paper had if you look at Vegas's expansion draft roster, and you compare that with Seattle's expansion draft roster, and you look at it through the lens of 2017 for the Knights and 2021 for the Kraken, I think Seattle's roster was way better. But it didn't pan out. Goaltending has been a huge issue for the team. All right, next division. Where's Eddie? We'll talk some Metropolitan, okay? I already talked about the Pacific for like 25 minutes. Metropolitan. So at first, Carolina Hurricanes. Statistically, no team is coming close to the Hurricanes. They're among the best teams offensively in terms of even strength offense. They're, I think, seventh on the power play, if not higher up. Penalties killed, they're the best in the NHL, if I'm correct. Goals against average, I think they're the best in the NHL. Shots allowed per game, they are best in the NHL. They are, from a fundamental standpoint, without question, the best team in the NHL. Does that translate into the playoffs, though? If I'm the Carolina Hurricanes, I got to take a page from the Tampa Bay Lightning's Book of Success. You look at the Lightning in 2020 when they brought on, I think Coleman was part of the 2020 trade deadline for them, yeah? Barclay Goodrow. And you also look at Yanni Gourde. That identity line for them, I think, was huge in getting them to a Stanley Cup. Also, the size and the physicality of the defense as well. I think that was a big component there too. That identity line was great in the 2021 playoffs as well. And then recently, I'll talk about them later on too. But when I look at the Hurricanes, when they played Tampa, oh, thanks, Adam. Sorry you had COVID, buddy. I hope that your symptoms were mild. So when I look at Carolina, they need nastiness. They had a good series against the Predators last year. There was, chippiness on both sides. But against Tampa, they weren't the aggressor. They need to be the aggressor. Tampa did not back down one bit, and as a result, Carolina just could not get that many quality opportunities against the Lightning. So I think they need to augment their sort of sandpaper, if you will. Yeah, they don't have really a superstar beyond maybe Aho. So they can balance their scoring out. They don't have one line that's going to overwhelm another line. So that is, I think, that can be a bit of a caveat. But yeah, if I'm Carolina, maybe looking at bolstering defensive depth, even though their top four is the best in the NHL, I would say. And, of course, yeah, adding some nastiness. They need that. Yeah. Let's talk about the next team. That is the New York Rangers. Fantastic year. Gerard Gallant, I had a feeling he'd get this team back in the playoffs. I didn't think they would be anywhere near as good as they've been this year. A lot of that has to be attributed to Shesterkin. He's looking wonderful and should be, if I had to name my Vezina finalists, yeah, he would easily be a finalist. Thomas in his video mentioned he could be a Hart Trophy candidate, and I wouldn't put it past us either. If McDavid and Draisaitl don't score 135 plus points, then yeah, maybe Igor gets in there. This overall lineup is pretty stacked, I would say. Maybe defensive depth, kind of like the Hurricanes. It's a little green there, so I think they could use a veteran presence, to chew up 17 minutes a game or so. But yeah, that team can win offensively. They can win, in a track meet. They can also win in a lockdown defensive match. So yeah, those guys can't be taken lightly whatsoever. Next team, as I try to regain my oxygen here. My elevation's only 2,300 feet. So next team, let's talk about Pittsburgh. Mike Sullivan, please, let's just right now make him a finalist for the Jack Adams. Pittsburgh is always so darn, plagued, by injuries. And this year hasn't been any different. And they have overcome it just as well as they have in the past, if not better. Want to see a little bit more punch from the sort of middle six, as I talked about in my trade targets video, because Crosby can't do this all himself. Gensel can't do this all himself. Goaltending's been really good. My big caveat for the Penguins is, look at the playoffs last year for Tristan Jarry. I bet you anything he is going to look better in net for them, but in order for him to do that, the blue liners in front of him need to be a little bit better too. I'm not saying that Pittsburgh has bad defense. I think it's acceptable, but they might want to, at least get a little bit more fortified back there for Jarry, to be proactive in that sense. But again, I think that the middle six is what they want to target for something like the trade deadline. Washington. So Ovi for Hart. Yeah. And I think that you really have to consider that for the Capitals this year because their power play has been garbage otherwise. So I proposed in my trade deadlines video, I'm pitching this video quite a bit, why don't they go after Phil Kessel to help with the power play? That'd be something else. Otherwise, Washington's been a pretty meh team, honestly. I know that they've had a lot of injuries, so we'll have to see how they are once they get the band back together. But the guys ahead of them, the Penguins, it doesn't matter who's out of the lineup. They just continue to flourish. So Washington, to me, right now, looks like a much easier out. Like if the Hurricanes face them in the first round, Carolina's got the best penalty kill. They can just get under Washington's skin as much as they want. That's the approach I would take. And then if Washington's not clicking with the man advantage, then that series is over in 5 games. The other teams that you have down below them, I'll just go through them really quickly here. Islanders, huge disappointment this year. Yeah, they were behind the 8 ball with all the road games they had to play early on. But when guys like Palmieri and Beauvillier, man, I love Beauvillier, but he's been a ghost this year. When those guys aren't producing, it doesn't matter how often Sorokin stands on his head. This team is just not going anywhere. It sucks to see that too. I'm a big Barry Trotz fan, and I liked, sort of that identity the team has built the past couple of years, but that has not been there this year whatsoever. So yeah, I just cannot see them making up that much ground. I don't think Washington's going to tank, free fall for the Islanders to get back into the playoffs. Columbus, I don't really follow Columbus, to be honest, not because I don't have anything against them, but they've actually done much better than I expected to this year. Gavrikov, I'm curious to see if the Blue Jackets entertain any offers for Gavrikov. A good kind of like second pairing defenseman. He could fit in a couple of roles, like a place like St. Louis maybe. And the Jackets could get some decent assets in return. Max Domi is another name that they could potentially move. Next team, let's talk about, Philadelphia. Philadelphia has been a tire fire, obviously. Yeah, there are some huge changes that need to happen. They're going to probably, look to move Claude Giroux, of course. You expect the Devils in the playoffs next year? Yeah, I'll touch on that too. But with Philly, man, oh God, like what pieces do you want to keep for the franchise going forward? Farabee? Who else? Who else besides Farabee should have a job with that team next year? Hart? Probably. But beyond that, man, they've just totally bombed. That offseason was, Ellis. I know that Ellis has been injured, so that hurts, right? But yeah, they've just been awful. Devils, same thing, man. They started fairly well, and I thought the Devils were going to finish. I had them finishing 5th this year in the division. They had some momentum last year, and I thought that guys like Sharangovich and also, who's the other guy? I always forget him. Janne Kuokkanen. I thought that they were going to kind of continue the successes they had built last year, and that hasn't been the case at all. And so this team, I don't know what it's going to take for them to get over the hump. They have a couple of young forwards they could potentially trade. So I don't know if I can believe in them for next year. The defense has been god-awful. Because, Blackwood, I know he's doing better than the numbers indicate there. Am I missing anybody? Columbus, Philly, Jersey, Islanders. Okay, I think I got them all. All right, next division. Let's talk Atlantic. We'll stay out east, and I know that this is getting us behind schedule. Florida, the Cats, baby. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see them flourishing the way that they can, or that they are this year, because they're so fun to watch, man. Hey, Aaron, thanks for joining. So yeah, Florida has been such a treat to watch the last few years, even when they haven't been as high up in the standings, with guys like Huberdeau, who some people think Huberdeau right now, if you had to award the Hart Trophy, it would go to him. So he could be in that conversation. Bobrovsky, I don't know if he'll be a Vezina finalist, but he's in the conversation right now. Anton Lundell is in the conversation for the Calder Trophy. So again, guys, you see that video description below. There's a link to a video comparing the Calder frontrunners among the forwards. I released that yesterday. There is a trade deadline targets video, so I touch on every team there. And there's also a video coming out this Thursday, 5 reasons why the Panthers could win the Stanley Cup. And I'll be joined by Panthers superfan, who also was featured in a recent video on Keith Yandel, and that is Jaws from Flying Fluffy. So we'll touch on the Panthers a lot more then. As you guys, I don't know if anybody here saw this video I made at the beginning of 2019. I ranked the teams from favorite to least favorite for myself. And back then, I had the Panthers at number 3. So this is before they were really good. And I just said that they were the most fun team to watch out there. And so I was on the Panthers wagon when it was a lemonade stand. So there you go. Second place right now for points percentage. My cup prediction, start of the season was Islanders over Jets. So yeah, we've been going live for an hour. Whew. Gotta get myself back in the condition of this. So then we get to second place. Points percentage, Toronto, I think, is in second place. Just wake me up when the playoffs start, and then I'll talk about Toronto. But you do see them playing overall better in terms of goals against. I think Campbell's a huge reason why. It's weird because I know that like Steve Dangle, for example, will rip the defense to shreds, especially when the team has a lead. That's something I want to stress there. But from like an analytics perspective, the defense is actually really good. I think that Campbell is certainly augmenting those numbers. Pardon me. And I'm not saying that the Leafs shouldn't make any defensive moves in the, at the trade deadline. I think that there's a position that they could actually improve from an offensive standpoint in the forward group. You watch my video for that. But I don't think that situation is quite as bad. The team collectively just needs to have more urgency when they have a lead. So that's how I would sum up Toronto's season. Matthews and Marner are clicking right now. Again, wake me up when the playoffs start. Bunting is in the conversation for the Calder too. Don't forget him. Next team, Boston. Just, they're the Bruins. They're going to make the playoffs, right? They need more from the second line center. I've been banging that drum since before the season started. Not to throw any shade at Howla. I like Howla just fine, but he's not a second line center. A couple years or 4 years ago on the Golden Knights, though, that's a different story. And yeah, who knows if they're gonna, ride Tuukka Rask, because he hasn't had a very smooth comeback so far. But he's got a little bit of time. Excuse me. Next team, Detroit. Where's our guy Dan? Detroit's been better than I would have expected this year. They're basically around NHL 500, and this team just plays very competitive hockey. I haven't watched them a ton, to be honest, but it's certainly a sign of good things to come when you have Raymond performing well, Nedeljkovic and net performing well, and Moritz Seider. I think what I'll do for next Saturday's video, guys, I want to make a video comparing Moritz Seider to other Calder-winning defensemen. I would like to make a video on that because Seider, from an offensive standpoint, looks really good. He quarterbacks the power play for the Red Wings, but he also plays, close to 2 minutes on the penalty kill a game. His zone starts. He's pretty balanced between the offensive zone and the defensive zone, and he's only a -5. So this guy is already turning into a star. So I want to explore that a little bit more too. Get into those advanced analytics, or at least pretend like I can. Next team, God, who are the other teams there? Ottawa. Yeah, Ottawa's playing better hockey. Sucks that they have Batherson out of the lineup, like the season he had last year, particularly. Don't really know what to say with them in that I thought they were going to be better than they are this year, but maybe they do actually make a push for 5th if they can keep it up. Other teams below them, Buffalo. Yeah, I don't even know who's playing in goal for them anymore, other than, of course, Craig Anderson, who should be coming back from injury. Dahlin apparently is having a good year. I really haven't watched the Sabres either, or the team underneath them, to be transparent with you guys. But yeah, it's going to be fun to see how Tuck does with the team, because Tuck was a treat to watch in Vegas, with just his size and yet his acceleration. His ability to, come out on breakaways and score in odd man rush situations. So the way that he connects out there with the fans is going to be a great storyline through the rest of the season. So there we go. Montreal, yikes. I'm just glad that they have their general manager, decided, and Kent Hughes, and I think Jeff Gorton's there as well. So they got to strip a lot of things down. Yeah, it's just been awful for them. I knew that they were going to have a tough year. I didn't think it'd be anywhere near as bad as it's been. So, Habs fans, start working on your golf swing, I guess. I don't know. All right, and last division. I know we're already at noon here. We'll talk about the Central. Colorado, kind of like Toronto. I'm on this sort of. I have this sort of mentality with Colorado. So what? Until they get past the second round, so what? Until they play cohesively well in the defensive zone, so what? That's starting to happen. It is. But the penalty kill worries me. The good thing is that I don't think they take a ton of penalties, but if you're going up against a team like St. Louis even, like I know that St. Louis got their butts kicked by Colorado in the first round last year. I think St. Louis has a pretty good power play this year. If Colorado gets into trouble against them, maybe that could be a deciding factor in a division final essentially. So they got to get that in order. But as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter if one of their big players is out with an injury, they can still win. So they're going to be great in the regular season. I don't see them surrendering first place in that division. They might not want to win the President's Trophy though, if you know what I mean. So great season after kind of a shaky start though. I got to see them in Seattle earlier this year and they just wreaked havoc on the Kraken. Yeah, Nazem Kadri. I don't necessarily think he's going to get into the Hart conversation, even if he's producing the rate that he's at. But yeah, he's certainly playing for a contract next season. Big UFA target. Water break. All right, next team. And for our next team, we're going to go up north to Minnesota. No, actually, I'm technically north of Minneapolis. But yeah, the Wild, Dean Evison. What more can you say about the job he's done there? What's interesting is that the second line has Joel Eriksson in addition to Jordan Greenway and Marcus Foligno. I talked about this in the trade deadline video. What if there was an opportunity for them to play a third line role and a guy like Fiala who is wildly inconsistent? See what I did there? Kevin Fiala is so hit or miss. He needs a reliable center to set him up better. And I know that Boldy apparently is, developing some good chemistry with him. But what if they had that from the center position? Some good consistency, don't you know? That's what they need. Then this team, to me, I think could actually win the Western Conference. If they can fortify that, then the goaltending doesn't become as big of a concern. It's not bad goaltending by any means, but it's certainly not their strong suit. 34 points in 39 games on the third line. Yes, but he goes through stretches when he'll go through like 12 games with 2 assists. And I know that some players go through that with their careers, but it seems like a perennial thing with Fiala. He has 1 or 2 stretches like that. Oh, I think if Minnesota is going to make an improvement to their core, it's at the center, in my opinion. Now on to the St. Louis Blues. This is an interesting team because their offensive contributions come from a good amount of different players out there. Tarasenko, you have to look at him because he's rebounded so well over there. Kairu, somebody else mentioned earlier, is elite. I think that Jordan Kairu is a star now. He's won the fastest skater. He scored, 4 or 5 different points in the Winter Classic. He's awesome. But there are so many other players who are chipping in as well, like Ivan Barbashev. Nobody talks about him. I don't really know too much about him myself, but he's always in on sort of transforming the play to actually create an opportunity for his offense. So he needs to be talked about more. Buchnevich is playing very well in St. Louis. There's another guy there who I want to mention as well. Robert Thomas. We already talked about him a little bit earlier too. Second power play for Minnesota? Okay then. So St. Louis, you can't take them lightly. I think that they're kind of poised to prove some doubters wrong after the past couple of playoffs. And this guy, Ville Husso, who saw that coming? He could be the next Jordan Binnington, essentially. He's got what, Thomas? You let me know. Like 1.90 goals against average and like a 941 save. Yeah. So they're going to eventually ride him. I do want to see them upgrade a little bit defensively from the left side after Torrey Krug. Then we get to the fourth place team, and that's the Nashville Predators. Again, I'm looking at points percentage, and Nashville has proven me wrong. John Hines. I was a John Hines doubter personally. Yusei Saros is a big piece to their success, and so is the kind of return to form for guys like Matt Duchene. He's actually, kind of worth his contract this year. In addition to Ryan Johansson, Tanner Jeannot leads all rookies in goals, and he's got a third line role. So that's huge for a team that can't lean on one player to score for them. Forsberg, there's another guy who is kind of like Fiala. He's pretty inconsistent as well, but this year he's looked much better. So Nashville scoring by committee. Yossi in the Norris conversation, and Saros potentially in the Vezina conversation. So, don't count out the Preds. Again, if they're a lower seed, kind of like the LA Kings, that's when they're at their scariest. Okay? Dallas, I was mentioning them toward the beginning of the stream, kind of a one-line team, which certainly concerns me. So if they want to be buyers, they need to upgrade at, I think, the winger position. Because after their first line, Jamie Benn leads all wingers with like 17 points. So that's their biggest need. But there's this whole Klingberg situation, and if they deal him, does that make them sellers for the trade deadline officially? I don't know. So other than that, I don't know if Dallas has enough to get into the playoffs. Because, if Edmonton keeps things the way that they're going, and so does LA, then that kind of shores up the wild cards. You would have basically probably Nashville in the Central, and then you'd have one of the teams in the Pacific there. Let's go through the three other teams. Winnipeg, oh God, I'm dumbfounded with Winnipeg. They used to win games with a guy like Nick Ehlers out of the lineup, but they can't do that this year. Paul Murray stepped down, even though he was probably kind of forced out, which I kind of understand. But they needed to, kind of go out more on his terms, and in terms of from a PR standpoint, just because he coached there for so long. But yeah, Andrew Kopp is a UFA. Yeah, I think Andrew Kopp's a UFA, and you want to talk about underrated players like him and Robert Thomas in that division. Andrew Kopp defensively is great, and he would be an awesome asset to a team that needs maybe a third or second line center. So I think that's one name you look at the trade deadline. And then you have the two teams beneath them. Chicago, yeah. Interesting to see what they do now that they invested so much. Well, at least Fleury's a UFA. So and Fleury's got a no move clause or a modified no trade. So does Fleury want to go somewhere else after just arriving in Chicago? I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure if he does, honestly. Excuse me, I got more air trapped in here. So I'm not sure what they do with Fleury. They're stuck with Jones's contract. Now Jones is producing offensively, but I've heard Kubalik. I've heard his name mentioned in conversations. Dylan Strome is either an RFA or a free agent at the end of this season. So I think that he could be a fit for a couple other teams out there as well. So that is the Blackhawks, and then below them the Coyotes. They're the Coyotes, right? I don't know if they tried moving like Vejmelka, because I've liked the way that guy's battled in net for Arizona. Kessel is a big name, I think there. I've heard Schmaltz. I think Shannon might have talked about Nick Schmaltz, but I just don't think anybody wants to take on his contract because he's really not doing much this year, honestly. So the Coyotes certainly will be entertaining offers. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if you see anybody else dealt besides Phil the Thrill. You guys, if you don't mind just giving me about 2 minutes here, I'm just going to run to the restroom. Got to see how I can mute my microphone here. Is there a way to do that here? I don't know. I'll figure it out. So anyway, guys, if you could just give me one moment here while I relieve myself, then we'll come back and we'll talk. Holy Mackinac, we're going to talk about jerseys. Yep. Oh, so it was supposed to be 11:30 to 12:15. Okay. Good enough. Good enough. You guys just give me one moment. Smash like. That'll give you something to do. Okay. Now that that's done, yeah, it was Cortana's chance to take over the stream. Marc-Andre Fleury back in Pittsburgh. Jeopardy music. I think I need a couple of rotations of that before I finished the pause there. I guess I can wrap up this segment technically. Wonderful. Thank you guys. I'm glad. Oh. Beer logos. Oh yeah, that's right. We had that on there. Hey Nick, welcome to the stream. Just talked about the Blackhawks for like 30 seconds. So yeah, if you look at kind of how I see the, I'm gonna move over this way. If you look at how I see maybe the first round playoff matchups looking like, so the way that I see this playing out in, let's do the West first. So I think that the second wild card in this case, let's say it comes from the Pacific, because, I'll say that the second wild card comes from the Pacific, and the first wild card comes from the Central. So I think that Vegas would probably play Nashville in the first round. That'd be an interesting matchup. I think a couple of cool cities and environments there. So I think Vegas and Nashville is a likely first round matchup. And then if I were to pick second and third, it would be what? Calgary against... It might be the Battle of Alberta, or it could be Calgary versus LA, the Sutter Cup, if you will. For the time being, let's say, oh, come on, we want the Battle of Alberta, don't we? So, hey now. Then, Eustace. Guten Abend. Welcome. Toronto, Tampa, yeah. So let's say Vegas, Nashville, I say in the first round, and then let's say Battle of Alberta. All right. Let's go over to the Central. So you have the second wild card from the Pacific. So they would play the top seed in the Central, and Colorado's going to have that. So it's going to be Avs versus Kings, and then Blues and Wild. Blues and Wild's going to be that's going to be just an absolute meat grinder of a series, I would think. So, oh shoot. And then out east, let's look at the Metro. So I think Carolina wins the division. And you know what, guys? I think Carolina's going to have the best regular season record in the Eastern Conference. I think that it's them. So Carolina, I think, would take on the second wild card. I think the second wild card will be the Capitals. I think the Bruins are the first wild card. So it'd be Caps and Hurricanes. And I think that's a bad matchup for Washington. But hey, stranger things have happened. And then the other matchup would be the Rangers and the Penguins. That'd be pretty fun to watch, I have to say. And then we'd look at the Atlantic, and I think Florida holds on. Florida holds on, and they'll take on Boston. And then the other matchup would be the Leafs and the Lightning. You would not be able to remember who's who because they have the same colors. So there we go. That's what I'm thinking. All right, it's 12:15 basically. So we have a segment dedicated to jersey talk. So, I gotta tip the cap to the son of the GOAT, and that is Nhl from Post to Post. If you don't follow him on Twitter, make sure you do, because he has been getting some inside knowledge about plans for teams' jerseys next year. So there is going to be the Reverse Retro Series returning. Heck yeah, jersey time. Yeah, that's right. And he has confirmed a couple of different ideas for designs, or conceptually, not like actual designs. So he has a confirmation that the Canadiens are going to model their jersey design in the theme of the Montreal Expos. I don't know if that's going to change the layout of the jersey at all, but if we get a Habs jersey that's like two-tone blue, right, with the powder blue and like the royal blue and some red, I think that could be pretty fresh. Maybe they make it a script jersey, or maybe they have somehow a script logo that they use in their branding that has Montreal written, kind of like the Expos logo. That would be dope. Absolutely. With the Habs, I loved how they went blue for that reverse retro. Absolutely. But of course, as I see here with Eustace's comment, the real big fish here is that the Islanders are going to a fisherman design. That is a confirmation from Nhl from Post to Post. Wow. It's actually happening. Now, the design doesn't necessarily have to look exactly like the fisherman. I think that maybe the shoulders might be modified because it's so awkward, looking at the original design. The numbers, I think, will probably be less nausea-inducing, and the name too. But yeah, and it's a reverse retro. I think that's the idea, unless it's going to be its own jersey. But I would assume it's a reverse retro. So will the Islanders make that orange? Will they make that teal? Either way, I am very curious to see what this looks like. And if I were you guys, you saw how fast all those jerseys, were snatched up last year, right? For teams like the Capitals and the Kings and the Rangers, right? So if I were you right now, I'd already put a fund aside for reverse retro. Get ready to pay full price. Set aside, I don't know, $1,200 to buy a few. Maybe I should do that too. Speaking of reverse retros, by the way, I'm projecting at the end of this month that I will unbox a reverse retro jersey. I've already filmed the video, but I need to make the jersey component, the jersey history component, like I did with the Penguins. Watch that if you haven't already. Yeah, so I'm getting. Oh baby, I'm looking forward to whatever Nhl has to unveil on his channel too. Most definitely. So yeah, reverse retro is coming back. Now, if I recall Nhl's video from before the regular season started, he said that there were still some other designs that were going to come out this year. I think he mentioned either in February or March. I don't know if those are going to be tabled for next season though. So there could be a few other designs that could be unveiled this year that we don't know about. This year we already have seen, of course, the Winter Classic happen, and the Blues jersey was beautiful. There was another jersey on the ice as well that I won't talk about. And we got the Stadium Series coming up. I thought, is that the end of this month? It actually might be. That's when I think I want to do my jersey unboxing, actually, because it's spoiler alert. So yeah, you got those two designs there. you dread to think what you spent on reverse retros. Yeah, I only bought like 6 of them. I mean, that's a ton of money, but yeah. Uh, so the Stadium Series, right? So we got the Nashville Smashville jersey, which, yeah, that I don't want to speak anymore about. And then we had the Tampa Bay one, which, in my opinion, if you get a couple of numbers on there and a name on there, I think the jersey looks okay. I'm actually all right with that jersey. See, that's because my bar for the Tampa Bay Lightning has been set so low from their last decade of jerseys, I would say. Although the reverse retro was done nicely. I like that. What other jerseys have we seen come out this year? We have, of course, you like Tampa's? Oh, rather you like Nashville's. I mean, I don't mind them having like Smashville on there, but it was, I don't know. I couldn't really fathom a jersey from them without the actual main logo on there. So then, of course, the Devils guys. Oh my goodness, right? Bolt sucks. Hey, I understand if people don't like it. Again, they have set the bar so damn low that the Stadium Series for me was a blessing from the hockey gods. Of course, the Devils put theirs out this year too, and rightfully so. It's getting completely panned. Doesn't look anything like the New Jersey Devils, that's what's unfortunate. I would have to say. Copycats. So many text logos. Yeah, so we saw that we saw like text heavy logo or text heavy jerseys, right? So what? Minnesota, Jersey, Tampa, technically, it's a word mark. Nashville. Hey, what's going on, Evan? I haven't chatted with you in so long. I had to stop to remember your name for a moment there. We're the Devils. Yeah. Pittsburgh. Okay, they did their word mark jersey. Now, granted, they've had it before. I got some flack for my reaction video. I'm not saying it's a bad jersey. I'm just saying that it was a missed opportunity. And I don't know. King's third. Okay. Well, I mean, it's kind of like encapsulated within the chevron. The King's third. I actually I like the jersey fine. I just thought that it was a weird time for them to unveil that. How many jerseys have the Kings had so far in Adidas? I think they've had like 7 different jerseys. Wait, let's do a count now. Okay, home, away, gray alternate, okay? They've had the reverse retro. They've had the Stadium Series, and now they've had this other alternate. So they've had 6 different jersey designs already. Tisk, tisk, tisk. And they still haven't gone back to that beautiful purple and silver crest with the lion with the shades. Like, how do you go 6 different jerseys and you can't give me that? Come on, man. That's why you see, that's why you're the Kings. That's why the damn Kings. Post for the Rangers got you worried? Oh, I haven't seen that one, I don't think. I'll have to check it out. How much money they would make? I think that they can make some decent money on that. I thought that was hilarious how Blackwood or whoever it was for the Devils put that on his goal mask, right? 7 because they had the Chevy throwback. Wait. Did I count incorrectly? Okay, home, away, gray alternate. Okay, reverse retro, Stadium Series, the new alternate this year, and yeah. You're right, because they've issued the chevron twice in that color scheme in silver and black. God damn you, Kings. Should go purple and black. Yeah, I kind of like the idea of them going like purple, black, and silver. If they wanted to go back to purple and yellow, I'd be fine with that too. Foreign blue, excuse me. By the way, I will die on this hill. The only team that uses gold in the NHL are the Golden Knights and maybe the Ducks and maybe the Panthers. Otherwise, it's black and marigold, black and goldenrod, black and yellow. I will die on that hill. A cream Blackhawks reverse retro. Oh, yeah. That's a good pick. Yeah, the coat of arms logos. It's too fun. You know. Yeah. Please comment, guys. What reverse retros do you want to see happen for your favorite team? A light blue. Oh yeah. I saw that one. Excuse me. Yeah, I did see that powder blue Rangers design. I don't mind that at all. My thing with the Rangers is that I would love to see them have like a proper crest, whether that's a regular or whether that's an alternate. So have a proper crest and then have the word mark. So for example, if you were going to have that powder blue alternate, then for example, they should maybe try putting the actual main logo on the front of their jersey. Oh, he just said that. Or do Statue of Liberty, either way. Vegas Knights in Vegas Thunder colors. Or just take the Vegas... Oh, okay, so take the current design and put it in Vegas Thunder colors. Now, you're going to get pushback from me because I'm a Sharks fan. Because they used to have teal as like one of their main colors. Or maybe take the same idea but inverse that. So take the Thunder design and put that in Golden Knights colors. And I'd be happy to see that. Oh, yeah, the Pooh Bear. That's right. From Neil's comments, it sounds like the Pooh Bear is going to return. I don't know if that's for the Winter Classic, though. I would think that it's probably for Reverse Retro. Oilers gear in white. A lot of people want to see that. I personally don't really care all that much, but I wouldn't go out and buy that jersey. But hey, if they give the people what they want, that's what matters most. And that's what matters the most. Mustard cat and blue. Now you're speaking my language. I like that idea. Canucks flying V. Oh God. If you guys remember the jersey concepts that Jamie worked on, I featured I think last month on my channel. At number 1, I had his Vancouver Canucks design. So remember when the Canucks had the skate jersey that was kind of like two-toned? It had what? Black on the top and red on the bottom, or red on the top, black on the bottom? I can't even freaking remember. Well, he inversed that for his concept, and I thought it looked magnificent. I would love to see that for a reverse retro. Carolina 06 jersey in black. Yeah, I think that's certainly a possibility. Winnipeg 1995 logo. That's another good call out. Maybe they issue that in maybe in red. I personally don't like the idea of the Jets in red, but they've pulled off a lot of different looks, or a few different color schemes as the Winnipeg Jets. So why not give them a shot in red? Why not? For sure. 2012 Winter Classic. Oh yeah. A lot of people like that. I mean, powder blue with the actual crest on there. Or maybe powder blue version of the 2012 Winter Classic. I think that could look lovely. Blue Robo Penguin. I fully support that. Kings 2000 jersey in purple and gold. I would have to see a concept of it. But hey, if the Kings are in purple, it gets my approval pretty much. The Sabres will do with the goat head and alternate or not reverse retro. I think the Sabres should do it as an alternate. Not reverse retro unless you make it a red jersey. Actually, no, I stand corrected. That should be the reverse retro. Blues trumpet logo jersey. Yeah, I know that some people want the arch jersey to come back, which is a good design, but I would love to see the arch jersey with with like that blue, yellow, and maybe red accents. Maybe try that out. With like royal blue. I'm not the dark blue. Yeah, the Robo Penguin logo. I still think it's a good logo. It's not as good as the current one, but it should come back. It should come back on a jersey. Will Vegas run out of ideas? At some point, they actually might. They only have a few teams to choose from like the Wranglers and the Thunder. But I don't know. Maybe they just mix up the color schemes. I mean, I can't fault if the league is going to have new jersey programs every other year. I can't fault the Golden Knights for not either participating or not really having something to do. Seattle, well, it's got to be Metropolitans, right? But will they do it in the Kraken colors? Maybe so. Maybe so. But I'd love to see the Seattle Totems, do a throwback to that as well. However, that's already kind of what the Thunderbirds do, except the Kraken would make it like it would be a green jersey, right? Or an ice blue jersey. Ooh. Lightning Storm jersey on white. Hey, Paul. Neil said that there's like a lot of, he was basically saying that the Lightning's choice is going to be pretty interesting, because people were saying like, hey, is it the Storm jersey, right? A lot of people want to see that come back. If they go to that for their reverse retro, I think they're doing right by a lot of people. Islanders bringing back the Fishermen. Hey, you can make fun of them. And it's like a perfect world because everybody but half of the Islanders fan base wants those to come back, and the Rangers fan base wants to come back for that reason. The Avs. Let's see, what would the Avs do? Yeah, would they do a Burgundy Nordiques? I think that's fairly likely, to be honest with you. Oh, good. More interest around the Avalanche. Remember, guys, the Avalanche had that wordmark jersey. Actually, they had two wordmark jerseys. I think the one that they, had in the early 2000s in Burgundy, I don't love that jersey. I don't know if I would buy it if it were reissued, but I don't know. They already made a blue version of that. Did the Avalanche go to a gray jersey? That'd be interesting. Preds in white and blue with a checkerboard pattern. Yeah, Paul, have you seen I think it's on eBay. There have been like one or two people who've listed prototype jerseys with that exact design in Reebok Edge 2.0, I think. So the Preds had like conceptualized that, but they never actually sold it. And so that jersey was like $600 or $800, probably like 500 pounds or so. A blue version of their home jersey. Yeah, I mean, but is that really, I wouldn't mind seeing that, but is that really reverse retro? By the way, one day I want to make a video on my hockey hot takes. And one of my hot takes is that the Avalanche did the right thing going with blue helmets. But the blue numbers on the away jerseys, when they went to that, I thought that was a bad move. They should have just gone with burgundy numbers, in my opinion. The Jackets do a cream-colored cannon jersey. Yeah. Yes. The cannon itself is not cream-colored, though. So it'll be known forever as the cream canyon and the cream cannon. Anyway, I'm like spitting as I freaking drooling as I laugh. NHL Expand to Japan. I mean, they've played a couple of exhibition games there before, so I would like to see that return. How about that, guys? The league actually talked about how it's going to return to some international play. I like that a lot. I only hope that obviously the COVID. I mean, look, I'm not going to get into it, to be honest, but I don't think that this whole COVID thing goes away. I don't. But I would love the idea of people being able, from the US and from Canada, being able to travel to those other countries to see their teams play. Because, for example, if the Sharks played in Switzerland for Timo Meier, even though I don't know if it would happen, it would probably be like Wild versus Predators. Actually, that's a perfect matchup for Switzerland, assuming that Fiala stays in Minnesota. Then, it's like I would go, If I had some capital, thank you, shoulder surgery. By the way, no more shoulder surgery bills. Then yeah, I would totally go. Canadians coming to Germany to play the Oilers. Vegas versus Dallas and Tokyo. Yeah, I think Tokyo is a good place to have future games. They did that in the late 90s or early 2000s. Put Stinger on as the main crest. Have they ever done that for like a practice jersey? Like, I would like to see it on a practice jersey first. The Challenger Cup, each league all-star tournament. Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to see more participation between leagues. I would say. Or I mean, the real one that we want to see, right, is North America versus rest of world. Wings versus Rangers in Sweden. Yeah, actually, that would be pretty awesome. Anyway, yeah, we can still please keep the comments coming for sure. In the meantime, though, I will talk a little bit about yeah. So this is kind of like a Q&A / whatever's on your mind here as it pertains to hockey, and I'll also take this time to talk a little bit about the channel here too. The Rockies for the Avs reverse retro. Oh, that's interesting because yeah, the Devils kind of I don't know if they have the rights, but of course the Rockies are now the Devils. But I wouldn't mind seeing the Avalanche do that with their their like mountain logo. Do the mountain logo in the Colorado Rockies colors. I would love that personally. We'll have games in the UK. So Paul, what would be the biggest arena that could accommodate an NHL game? Like, what would that be? Do you like put a rink in Wembley or something? I don't know what the biggest rink is. I know that I think Nottingham and Belfast have like pretty good sizes, right? Is it 100%? Thanks, Simon. Not 100%, but like I can lift weights now, so it's like, I mean, I feel my limitations, but much better, buddy. So yeah, as you'll see in the video description, and as I've been, chirping over the chat over the course of, 97 minutes now, please, if you haven't already, check out my recent videos. And I don't necessarily recommend that just because of the topic, but also because of sort of the production quality and also some other elements that I want to infuse into my videos. So, to be upfront with you guys, I loved the survey feedback that you guys gave me a couple months ago. I spent kind of almost one whole working day going through that, and sort of what one of my objectives is to take elements that are part of the content that you already like and find a way to infuse that into other topics that I think are going to draw in bigger audiences. So you'll see in that video that I made on the Carolina Hurricanes, right? The 5 Reasons Why series, which, I'll make a new video every Thursday. One thing I did for that video were trivia questions. So, in other words, maybe you don't really care that much about the Hurricanes, but maybe you want to have a little fun, right? Something that's kind of like gamified in that sense. So I'm going to do stuff like that with future videos. So then that way, yeah, I mean, for some of you, maybe like NHL analysis, right? Like statistical deep dives. That sort of thing might not appeal to you, but who knows? Maybe you'll get a chuckle out of it because I'll have some funny memes on there. Maybe I'll, run a poll, right? I've been running polls recently with you guys and fielding your comments. So I want to infuse that a little bit more. Like, guys, recently when I asked on Twitter and on YouTube, but also on Twitter, what's the rarest jersey that you own? I thought I was going to get 4 or 5 pictures. Dude, I got over 60 pictures from you guys. It was absurd. It blew up. And so that's an opportunity to get you guys more involved in my actual video content as well. So those are some of the initiatives. And so then that way, my power rankings. My power rankings I do with jerseys too. So there you go. It's not going to be as cut and dry as maybe you had perceived it to be in the past. And so the idea is take aspects of what you already like and apply them in other ways. That's kind of the name of the game as I try to grow the channel. That's my spiel. Try to catch up here. And yeah, I can check. I'll check Twitter after the stream here. The O2. Oh yeah, I was gonna say O2, but apparently there's an O2 arena in Prague as well. You had to limit the jersey photos to 2. I should have said limit one photo per person, because that's how I'm featuring them. I literally have 60 different jerseys in the video. But don't worry, I think I did a pretty good job with it. Yeah. So am I going to start streaming more, or is this a one-off? I'm asking myself that question, honestly. Because it's a win-win for everybody. Because here's the thing, right? I think this is only natural. The more you get a chance to interact with me, the more often you'll probably want to click on a video, even if it's not like your favorite topic. So you win in the sense that you get to chat hockey with me. We get to interact in a way that's a little bit different than like social media or, through the comments of my videos. And for me, let's be honest, right? It's an opportunity to gain more subscribers. It's an opportunity to earn super chats. So, and I think Riley, asked this earlier, or you said that you missed the podcast that I tried out a couple years ago. One huge piece of feedback from you guys when we did the survey was, if I were to expand into anything else, it should be a podcast. I have thought about this. Last couple weeks ago, I spent a couple hours like figuring out how I would do this. Dude, I really want to do one. It would be Sharks focused, but it would also cross over into other topics in hockey and sports and just kind of my own dabblings. But I want to make it about the Sharks, because this channel, while I love making Sharks videos, I don't want to pigeonhole us into this being a Sharks channel. So I think the podcast would be an opportunity to do that. You missed the game streams. Thank you. I don't know if I'll bring those back. Playoffs is a huge advantage. It's a huge opportunity, right? For myself to gain bigger audiences. So I just need to maybe be a little bit more strategic and just not burn myself out. To be honest, like in 2020 when I was doing that, yeah, it was successful for the channel, but I kind of burned myself out doing that. I would rather burn myself out making videos behind the scenes. So anyway, definitely check out those videos in the description, and even if it's afterwards, or even if it's nothing related to the video I put out, if you guys have more suggestions, and you can be honest with me. That's fine, because I'm finding myself having to be real honest with myself if I want to actually like grow the channel. But I can't grow the channel unless folks like yourselves like to watch the videos that I make. So it starts with you guys, and then that's how we attract other audiences. Game worns in my collection. You know what? I actually don't. I have a team issued Sharks jersey, but I don't know if it was actually worn in a game. It was issued to Tim Heed, a defenseman who's not on the team anymore. The fin spin? That's awesome, man. I don't know if too many people would... Actually, then again, I was thinking of Teal Talk with Nick, but we'll see. There are already other podcasts that have Teal in their name or Finn in their name. That's why I have it like Fin Spin with Nick. I don't know. That's definitely got some zip to it, though. Stockton Thunder. Thank you. Yeah. And I'll mention there's that reminds me of something I'll mention briefly. So yeah, Jeff, definitely check out the recent videos. I do think the entertainment factor, even for the drier topics, is gonna be ratcheted up a little bit. And then this week, so Tuesday, we got an freaking fantastic power rankings in which I show off lots of jerseys, and yes, there are memes. And also just a really unique way. You guys have seen it before, right? I've done my jersey rankings earlier this year, right? Where I ranked all the home jerseys. I've done logo rankings. And I did one other video like that where I have a formula. It's not just my opinion. So I did that for the power rankings. And it's so funny because I thought that this was like such a unique thing. And last night, Shannon releases his power rankings and they were a formulaic one. And I was like, shit. But my formula is different from his. So you can enjoy both of our videos there. So I certainly encourage you to check that out. We'll be talking Florida Panthers in our next 5 Reasons Why video. Again, the idea here is a new video every Thursday. And Flying Fluffy, a.k.a. Jaws, big Panthers fan, he'll be joining me for that video to talk about his favorite team. he's great. I love working with him. And hopefully maybe bringing on a couple other personalities here and there. Not entirely sure exactly what I'll do, but so that's going to come out on Thursday. Saturday, this is crazy, guys. So I already have Tuesday's video done. Thursday's video, I'm going to turn that around probably on Tuesday. I already have Saturday's video for next week done too. And as you'll see on the video is that it's going to be on the rarest jerseys in my collection. And I'm sure that you guys have probably already seen most of those. But what is unique there is kind of the story behind it and just kind of like talking about jersey collecting. It's like, really, do I find many people collecting this jersey, even if it wasn't that hard for me to come across it myself? And the big piece of that is going to be all of your submissions too, right? So I literally have a 2.5 minute segment, I think, with 60 of your jerseys. I'm overwhelmed by just how many came in. So we'll have that in there as well. Excuse me. Then the big one drops on Tuesday, February 15th. I sure as hell need to get to work on it. But it is it's a history video, kind of like the Stockton Thunder video. I don't know how often I'll make these, but dang, I really did miss producing kind of like those, documentary-esque or mini docs, like the arena history videos I did. The one on the Stockton Thunder that I made. The one I made on the 10 best journeyman players of all time in the NHL. I think that from a content perspective, I really do think that's one of my best videos, but it sucks because it didn't get much traffic. So go watch it. Help me out. It's going to be a history video on HC Kladno, so the Czech team based in Kladno. And that is the team that Jaromir Jagr's father owned for 17 years, passed it on to his son in 2011, and Jagr still plays for them. And so on February 15th, Jaromir Jagr turns 50 years old. And it's crazy because I had this video like in mind. I was going to launch it earlier this year, and then I pushed it to February 1st. And then I was doing some information gathering, and I saw Jaromir Jagr's birthday is on the 15th, and I said, this is perfect. Let's celebrate a half century of the ageless wonder by looking at the legacy of his club, which has technically been around, you won't believe this, guys, for 98 years. It is only 7 years younger than the formation of the National Hockey League. So even though there isn't much information I gathered from the early decades, you start looking at the 50s and especially into the 70s, and that's really where, this team makes its mark in European hockey. So I'm really excited to bring you guys that and celebrate 50 years of you could argue Europe's greatest hockey player, Europe's most influential hockey player, you could argue too. So there we go. Jagr Kladno jersey, hell yeah. I thought to myself, man, I want to get one too. They got cool jerseys. So there we go. You got to see Jagr play in person, yeah. I don't even know what team he would have been with back then, but I got to see his 1900th career point because he was in San Jose for that. So yeah, those are videos that you can look forward to. We'll of course have that 5 Reasons Why series, and I'll be making a lot of analysis videos. Certainly, my goal is to at least have. It sounds so awful to only have a jersey video a month, but I hope I can get like a good jersey video a month. It's not necessarily an unboxing, but it could be something about collecting but that doesn't mean that jersey content can't be part of other videos. So that's what I'm trying to get at with you guys. Maybe 2 jersey videos a month. Yeah, Jagr is a hockey god. Absolutely. Yeah, so when we say a prayer to the hockey gods, Jaromir Jagr has to be one of them. Excuse me. A white Jagr Kladno jersey in small? European small, because I'm not going to fit in it. If we're talking like Adidas size 46 small, I'll fit in that. So yeah, there we go. Got 10 more minutes for kind of a Q&A. I could go over if I wanted, but the smart thing to do with your audience is to leave them just wanting a little bit more. So I'll give you 10 minutes of answering questions and reading comments here. Rarest one is a reverse retro. That's a good looking jersey. I'm sure a lot of people want to see Florida's reverse retro jersey return as a regular. Or, I mean, obviously a lot of people want to see them go back to that. Personally, I mean, I think it's a win-win either way. You sent me some pics. Like Twitter? Yeah, sure, why not? Let's take a look at I'll look at Twitter. How about that? Whoa. Nick, you made these? These look awesome, man. I really, for real. This is a great design. Really good color scheme here too. I wish the camera would pick this up a little bit better. You can tell us more about it in the comments here. They're called the Milkmen. Not the dead milkmen, but the Milkmen. That turned out great, dude. Doodly doodly doo. Back to the original look full time. I wouldn't, I like I'm really picky. I just realized something. I'm incredibly picky when it comes to the shape of the logo. I don't like super tall logos or logos that like the Panthers logo fans out, right? It's like not an inverted triangle, but it's kind of like along the lines of that. And I don't know, I'm so picky about that. I don't know why. I mean, it looks really good. I have a Starter Authentic that you'll see on next Saturday. That logo looks amazing, in that detail. Latest, you have a South African jersey. Nice. I forget, Simon, is your channel just your name? If it is, I can look that up after this stream here. If a professional wrestler wanted to collaborate with me, it's really funny because somebody actually said that, like not Asuka, but somebody said, like, what if, who was it? Some sort of fighter, or like, I don't know if it was like Dana White or something like that. What if, it might have been Dana White. And it said, like, oh yeah, what if they wanted to come on your channel? I'm like, I thought to myself, well, what the hell are we going to talk about? And I'm like, wait a second, let's just talk about fighting and hockey. So there we go. Okay, all right. So South African jersey. Ooh, deep breath. Yeah, that feels good. We still have 13 people around. I'm still impressed by that. So thank you guys. A lot of you stuck around for this whole thing. I mean, see, that's the thing too. I can't stream all the time because, you gotta leave people wanting more, right? Yeah. What is it? Come on. I'm thinking of that figure of speech. It's a good one, right? Not imitation's the sincerest form of flattery. Not the heart wants what the heart wants. But the idea is obviously you get more attached to something if you don't get as much of it as frequently, right? So, but that's my sick mind. Cool. Standout moments from a game that I went to. Yeah. Here we go. Favorite Sharks logo. That's, I don't know. I love the Screaming Shark and I love the Stealth logo on the shoulder, the one that I have tattooed on me. Okay. So here we go. Having it in UK friendly time. I did think about that because I was watching Thomas's video earlier and I said, yeah, I'd like him to get an opportunity if he's not too busy. And fortunately, you were able to join me as well. And Eustace from Deutschland. Okay, so CJ, great question. Standout moments from a game that I went to besides Game 7. Okay. I went to Patrick Marleau's return to San Jose in 2017. So that was a big one. That was a special moment. I think I was there for Vlasic's 1000th game. I might have been. Other standout moments. Yeah. I talked about this in a video I made long time ago. So back in 2006, the Sharks were in the second round of the playoffs against the Oilers, who, as we know, were a Game 7 from winning the Stanley Cup, because Raffi Torres is a cheap POS. Although, I saw him interviewed, and I'm like, okay, I can forgive you. Anyway, so it was Game 2. I was there. The Sharks committed 2 penalties, and I think for 1 minute and 52 seconds or something like that, it was a 5-on-3. Now, during this time, the sticks of 2 Sharks players broke. So for a moment there, or one of them might have been whacked away or broke loose from his grasp. So the Sharks, for a brief period of time, had to kill that penalty with 3 players, but only 1 stick. And they killed it off. The thing that sucks is that the Oilers scored, I don't know if it was like a second afterward. It wasn't that close. It was a few seconds after that, though. The Sharks won the game. I was too young to really appreciate that, but to say I was there for that, that's pretty special. Outside of that game, or outside the Sharks, I got to see Pavel Datsyuk, which was awesome. When I went to Boston for a game, so that certainly is kind of special to me, because that was, I think, the second to last year of his career. Let's see, other games. I'm trying to think outside the Sharks. I went to the Kraken game, obviously, but they didn't exactly put on a show. It was more of the Avalanche. Cale Makar and who else was killing it that night? Who wasn't killing it that night in Burgundy? Raffi Torres. Yeah, I've wanted to, for that podcast, that I mentioned a few minutes ago. I would love to do a podcast, because I could make a whole segment about the most hated players in the minds of San Jose Sharks fans, and then I could also, field some questions from you guys, like who is the most hated player in your fan base, right? Because then I would talk about, for example, more streams at this time. Sure, Eustace. But then I have to do one at 5 hours from now, at some point, because I need to appeal to all those Aussies down there in down under. So yeah, then I could talk about most hated players by Sharks fans for about 30 minutes. That'd be awesome. Tom Wilson, there you go, right? So that would be such a fun segment. A Green Ranger outfit someday? Well, you can see me wear a Blue Ranger outfit, or at least a Blue Rangers jersey. Tom Wilson. I mean, has any YouTuber made the most hated player on every NHL team? If nobody's made that, dibsies. I'll do that. Or maybe I could say the most hated player in every NHL fan base since 2010 or something like that. That's not a bad idea. I have you to thank. Yeah. I've got, dude. I've started jotting down all my video ideas. I haven't looked at that list in 3 weeks because it's immensely long. Marchand, yeah. Among Habs players, is Marchand the most hated? I don't know. I mean, I think Chara would have to be a good close second or third, though. That would also be hey, thank you so much for watching, Thomas. And that would be that's another fun one. Like beloved players who are considered absolute jerks in other fan bases. Excuse me. Because I want to be honest, Zdeno Chara is a dirty player in a lot of his career. Joe Thornton, I love Joe Thornton, of course. He's done some dirty stuff. So to touch on some players like that would be fun too. Evander Kane, yeah. Oh, good one, Riley. I think you nailed that one. Yeah, Torres on Seabrook. I doth recall. Torres on Milan Mihalik for me. The 5 most hated players. Okay. The most hated, yeah. Um, Speaking of which, I actually might reach out to Alyssa at some point. Would like to have her maybe join that 5 Reasons Why series on the Penguins. Obviously, she has a huge following, so that'd be nice. Marchand is a likable guy. That was another idea too, Eustace. It was, players who used to be jerks. Marchand's still a jerk, but he's evolved, right? Or no. This was my idea. Players I used to hate who I kind of like. So literally, you guys are naming both of them. Marchand, even though it's like, is he a jerk? Yeah, but that's his persona. It's not about him. It's not about him. Boarding or slew footing right now. He's not doing that as much anymore, right? I admire the game that how his game has evolved and improved so much, especially in his 30s too. So he would be a good subject to that. Even Corey Perry would be that too. As he's gotten older and as I've gotten more mature in some ways, I guess, even though I still drink chocolate milk like I'm 7 years old, I'd have Corey Perry in there. Like I kind of respect him, strangely enough. At least he isn't licking at anybody. There we go. And you know what, guys? I think that is probably where I'm going to end it. So again, looking for some ways to kill time other than what we've done here. And thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you see that video description down below. Make sure you hit the notifications bell if you haven't already. That way you know when I'm uploading content. We've got videos planned for Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then the 15th. We got that great video on the history of Kladno. So thank you guys so much for checking this out. It's really nice to connect with you guys on here, and I'm hoping that that this was entertaining for you. You're welcome. I don't know when the next stream is going to be because I don't want to make a broken promise, but it's going to be on my mind because this is nice. This is a lot better than getting 50 people to tune in that we don't know. And when there are people who are like trying to make this worse for everybody. That's not what I'm about. I'm not allowed. It's chocolate milk. Thanks, Adam. I'm gonna remember that. All right, guys. You guys have a good rest of your day or evening.